All right, everybody. I want to welcome you back to this is Power Rankings for the Cult of Larry Draft League Season 5. I'm Dr. Geo, and with me is,
I'm Nick Fenrir.
and we're
Hello,
going to be,
guys.
hello. We're going to be taking a look at all the teams. We're going to be giving just some general thoughts and opinions on them. These are, of course, contractually binding and objectively correct. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Um, So this first team is the Phoenix Solgaleos. This is coached by DD. And here we have a Dragapult, Blaziken, Corviknight, Rotomwash, Nidoking, Zarude, Terra Deontay, Musharna, and Terra Chargebug. So first thing that stands out right away is Terra Deontay's a monster. What do you think? Like,
Yeah, that's gonna be an absolute monster to break.
it's one of the few like maximum point Terra captains. Like, just as a reminder for people, like the Terror Captains don't go any higher than 15, and Deontay does get the 15. It does a little bit of everything. Um, I, I mean the scariest set. Well, there's a lot of scary sets, but I'm always scared of like the Diamond Storm into fighting type body press.
Right? Yeah, that could be nasty. That's just the offensive set. I mean, I believe it gets Calm Mind. Does it also get Iron Defense?
Yeah, and it's got a ton of cool utility moves like skill swap and things too. So like, skill swap's always so funny when it's things like Gliscor. But
Right. Yeah.
Um, so like let's look past that. Like our main core here is the Dragapult, Speed Boost Blaziken, and Corviknight. Um, like Dragapult's always good. Um, you have the core of Washdom for your Volt turn core. That's really actually handy. Not really for the Blaziken so much, but to get that Nidoking in, because that Nidoking's gonna just then be able to start blasting things. Um, Zarude's a decent complement. You know, you have a couple of hazards. It's maybe a little bit on the weak side, unless Deontay comes every week. Because
Yeah.
Nidoking's fine setting hazards, but sometimes like he'll miss out on the coverage.
It's almost like one of those moments where you like Nidoking here for the offensive pressure, but a Nidoqueen might have been better
I
because that's Nidoqueen's more content bringing hazards. But even then, that you're pressing yourself into relying on that for rocks and toxic spikes.
Yeah, and it's totally fine. Like if this is your rocker week to week, it's just maybe a little predictable. Like, offensive mons are actually like great hazard setters, and because if you're forcing a switch anyway, that's a free turn to set up your hazards. It's just there's an out. I feel like the draft meta has just gotten really fast, and sometimes that can be a little slow for a mon like Nidoking, where like you can set up rocks, or you can do with the right predict or something like 75%. So it's always a
Right.
tough trade-off, but you may not need rocks. I don't know.
And I
I feel
mean,
like
one
spikes.
thing I do see is like, so he doesn't have a spinner. So obviously he doesn't plan on setting hazards too often. Like both of his major hazard removals are going to be defoggers.
Yeah, like
So
defog chicken.
yeah, right. Not the iron one.
No, no, no.
But yeah,
Uh, so like,
I do like that 5 of his top 6 are pivots as
yeah,
well.
pivots are good. Always nice to pivot, especially with like Nidoking. Zarude's actually like if you get a chance, you can get Zarude in with like a choice band, or even Blaziken with a choice band is pretty nice. He's got the stats for it. I think the only things really that stand out to me that I'm not a super big fan of here is the huge speed gap between Dragapult and Zarude. Like all those
Yep.
mons, like the 130s, the 110s, and everything in between, are just gonna be able to run super bulky every week, and for some, like, it doesn't matter too much because they were never all that bulky to begin with. But some start, you really feel that bulk, like a Chan Pao when it gets to run 252 HP. Then it's like, okay, you start taking a couple more extra hits that maybe didn't expect you to.
Well,
Um,
and then like, is the only thing to really bridge that is going to be your Speed Boost Blaziken or a Scarf Nidoking.
but
That's
which is fine.
really the only
But
bridge.
like
Yeah.
Speed Boost Blaziken, let's see, 80, like what, 269? I think that's where 80 speed puts you. So 1.5 times is still around Dragapult. Like it doesn't really shore things up all that much because it also needs a turn to get going. But like
Yeah, but I mean,
that's
it
hard.
means you're not bringing like a band set. You can bring your Protect set and automatically get one right away. But
Yeah,
and also your
that's the turn
points.
for them to do something. So like, but it's kind of a wash. The only other thing that like stands out immediately is no normal type. But I think with Terra Deoncy, like I wouldn't be too worried like when they play the spec team. Like Deoncy's just gonna Terra into Dark or Ghost depending on like whatever the fighting answer is on that team. Or normal, not
Right, and it's
Ghost.
not.
You're not gonna
And
Terra
it's rude.
Ghost.
Rude's comfortable taking ghost hits too. Like
Yeah, he's
it's not
incredibly bulky.
fragile dark.
You can throw
So
an assault vest on it and like yeah, who you want a draining kiss? Yeah, I don't care. Gonna smack you with
right, yeah.
like my knockoff. So yeah, that's overall I'd say this team's like really solid. This also a team that like if you're prepping against it, like they just kind of have answers for you unless maybe like an Ogre Pond stands out, but like Ogre Pond's cheap anyway, so like all the forms I think would do real well here. But
I think the one thing I don't like about this team is it's relatively predictable. Um, because I think outside of the top 7, you're really not gonna. I mean, don't get me wrong, Musharna and Charabug can come up with some crazy sets. Um, I love the Musharna pick. I think it's an underrated mon. Um, but a lot of the top 7, they're gonna be. It's just gonna be a variant of those 7 every week. I feel like, and then Musharna and Chara once or twice. So I think that is one weakness this team has is the predictability.
that's probably fair to say. I'm not personally as concerned about that because like when your top 7 are good, they're good, you know. And
Yeah, no,
budget,
I'm not dissing this
yeah,
top
and
7. It's
budget
just
wise, DD dumped all their points into those top 7 anyway, so you'd expect them. I think I saw something or I heard them talk about it. Like someone, I can't remember who it was. It was like the a recap thing in WPF where they were talking about like a good way to view how useful a mon should be is like take their point value and multiply it by 5, and then that's kind of the percentage of matches you'd expect them to show up in, and that kind of makes sense. So you charge a bug, is only going to come to 5%. Sharna like 10%. Um, it's just another interesting way to look at things. But
yeah.
overall, out of 10, how would you rate this team?
It's tough. I'd give it a solid like 7.5. I think it has the threats you're looking for. Like you said, that top 7 is very scary. Like any combination of those 6 kind of can wreck most teams. But I think the reason I might not put it at like an 8 or a 9 is the fact that you don't have a spinner. You're limiting yourself on hazards, and again, you're limiting yourself to mostly the top 7.
Okay, yeah, I can dig that. I'll leave it at 7.5. All right, next up, as the pictures load in, we have Kelpo's Oops All Whoppers, Whoopers, not Whoppers. That's a burger. Um, we have a Chien Pao, Zapdos, Iron Shreds, Tapu Fini, Skeledirge, Superior, Drapion, Silvally, and Vanillux. And Drapion and Vanilla. Alright, so top 3 are top 4 really. This is another team where like
That top 4 is scary.
top 5 even. Like, this is another team where like these top 5 are just gonna come every week. Like Chien-Pao obviously comes every single week. It's never not gonna come. Same with Zapdos. Treads probably always gonna come. There's times I think where Treads isn't gonna come. Feeney's always gonna come. Skeledirge is it's not Terra, so it may actually sit out. And then that's when you start getting some of these other things. And this is why I like the mid to low tier Terras. That like sometimes that your Terra captain just like it's like I'm gonna ride the bench this week.
Right. Yeah. And not always having a Terra with you. Yeah. This is a team I could definitely see almost 50% of the weeks not bring its Terra captains. Like I could see Drapion coming a bit. Bunch and Vanillux coming every now and again, but I could definitely see them both ride the bench a lot more.
Right. So this team though, I feel it's super reliant on treads to set rocks. Drapion can set T-spikes, who cares?
Yeah,
but
they do not have hazards at all, to be honest. Like,
what worries me most for this team is like immediate breaking power outside of Chien-Pao. Like nothing hits super hard behind. Like, okay, so Zapdos can, but Zapdos is often going to be your like physical wall here, because Skeledirge just, I guess it can, but so Zapdos is going to be put into some like some big damage rolls, which it can do. It's it's fine doing that, but you will miss its like defensive pressure. But so like you have all these defensive mons and no way to really force progress through hazards beyond Stealth Rock. That kind of really worries me here. Like on the one hand, I think it's really cool that you have some pivoting options, a defensive team that eventually you're going to get your Chien-Pao and do the big damage and you're good. On the other hand, like while you're moving around, your opponent's going to get a chance to pivot and just nothing's going to come of that in a way. I think I also struggle to see like what I like to see in a draft too is a really nice Scarfer to close out games. And who's the best Scarfer on this team? Fini? Superior? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, Drapion.
And Fini's fine, but like sometimes like the other thing too is like I'm going to ignore Demon Fini sets because sometimes those just pop off, but like Fini's such a nice defensive piece to kind of shore everything up too. It's tough.
I'd say Drapion then.
Yeah, Drapion can do it. He just has low attack. Like sometimes like the quintessential go-to for me for like a Scarfer is some type of fighting type where I can just spam close combat to end the game because it does a lot of damage along the way. It's high base power. So that's kind of where this team falls apart for me. This team's missing quite a few types. They're not any like the super essential types for me other than maybe fighting, but that's a playstyle thing. Like he's no psychic. Okay.
I don't like his weakness to rocks either. I know he's got decent removal, actually pretty good removal, but
oh yeah, I didn't notice that. Well, Chien-Pao, Zapdos, Skeledirge are gonna wear boots every single week, and that's okay. It's Gen 9. Everything wears boots all the time. Iron Treads can even wear boots, just so you can always get spins off on against sticky webs and stuff. It's the world we live in these days.
Right. Yeah, it's just unfortunate because this might be a playstyle thing. I don't like forcing boots unless I absolutely have to, and
I've
I guess
I've
it
come
so
around
much.
to our newfound fashion revolution, and I boots on everything. Like
Right.
like a defensive mon, I'll just wear the boots. Yeah. But so I'm gonna put this team a little bit lower. I'd put it at like a 6 3/4. It has some cool things going for it, but I'm just I'm not seeing like it lacks a lot of immediate breaking power, and I feel like on the offensive side it's up to Chiampao every week to get things moving.
Yeah, I think that's 6.5. The 7 point mark kind of fits. Um, like kind of exactly where it is. Um, doesn't have, like you said, immediate breaking power. Especially, it's weird to say it on the special side because he does have good special attackers. They're just not immediate threats the to breaking stuff like Contrary and Torch Song. You want to
It
set up
takes a
on,
little bit to
and
get going, right? But
it
you
takes
know,
like a turn or two. Yeah.
who's to say? Maybe Terra Ice Vanillux Blizzard spam is actually gonna break things open. Could do it.
Yeah, I mean, plus this team is pretty bulky, and putting a Vanillix in there and Aurora Veil in front of some of these mons like Skeledirge and Feeny is not gonna
Yeah,
feel nice for a
I
lot of teams.
there's a lot of outplay potential with this team. It just kind of depends how much work you want to put into it week to week, and I mean Kelpo can do it, so we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be a fun team.
All right, next up we have the Lake Erie Ella Kids, coached by the egotistical Ella Kid. All right, all the sprites loaded in. Why don't you take this one? What do we got?
That top three is scary. There's no two ways to put it. You
What
got
are the
Crown,
bonds?
Gouging Fire, Bundle.
All right, there you go.
Oh, you got Zamazenta Crowned, Gouging Fire, Iron Bundle, Deoxys Defense, Ursulina Blood Moon, Mandibuzz, Terra Electros, Terra Rabombi, and a Vigoroth.
I want to talk about
And
the Terras
yeah.
and ignore the top three, because there's if you ignore the bundle, there is a trend. Um, Terra Rebombi's, I don't know why it's like really silly to me. I don't. What does this mon do with a Terra? I guess it can Quiver Dance, right? Can it?
Yeah, it can quit it I believe it has Quiver Dance. I'll double
I've
check here.
Yeah, I've never used it as a Quiver Dancer. I've used specs on it
I
before, but like,
yeah, I've used it before, but I didn't um I've never used it as like my setup sweeper or anything.
but you know,
It does
90,
get Quiver
95,
Dance, so
okay, but 95 with Moonblast is plenty to get going. Electros though is really interesting to me because it thinks it's Arceus or something. It has all the coverage ever, and
hmm
like Terra and whatever you need a little extra oomph for or not, like, or you I like it. That's an interesting choice. The Vigoroth really is a flex pick. But okay, let's talk about the real mons now. Yeah, these top three, I want to see Gouging
yeah,
Fire do really well. I'm, you know, if you've played any of Gen 9 OU, it's great on the ladder. That no one's gonna deny
yes.
that. I'm not convinced how good it is without Terra in draft yet. It's probably pretty good. But like, is it like 15-point good mon or like 17-point good mon? I don't know yet. So I want to see it do well. But like Zamazenta, Gouging Fire are both in the same boat of we are big, beefy dudes that can also hit you really hard.
Yep. We're gonna tank hits and hit like a Mack truck.
Same thing with the Ursaluna, man. And so like this team's hard to switch into. Like, between like Ursaluna and Iron Bundle, that's a cool little core there. Like they both hit on the special
I
side,
do
but
like
like what you know. not much switches into both of them.
Yeah, and I do like the Trick Room potential with the Deoxys. Trick Rooming into a teleport into either a
Yes,
slow gouging fire, or the Blood Moon, or the Terra Electros. Like
gouging
that
fire
that
for draft. Gouging fire is usually going to be just a smidge. Well, I say that, but teams are getting faster and faster, so no, there's a real niche for gouging fire to come in and do stuff. But the Electros can definitely do it, and Ursaluna. But yes, I forgot about that. But yeah, so it's actually a good setter because it can teleport, not chilly reception, teleport. Um,
right, and I it is unfortunate because I think um as far as or well, I think the Trick Room helps with the speed tier. Like it keeps a team honest between that 124 to 91, but that I mean that's a massive speed gap.
it is, but I don't think that one is as crucial as you would think. Well, like when it was a 40-point difference in that first team between like 140 down to 100.
And 105, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little different, but I mean 124 to 91, like all the Latioses of the world don't have to run much speed at all. So it could, but sometimes just not odds in that range will do you any good. Or because you're just out of
Yeah.
points. A lot of the good ones are in that like 12 to 14 point range, like Keldeo and stuff, and just you don't have the points. Um, so we kind of have a little bit of like a Volt Turn core. You want to be particular between Mandibuzz and Electros. Like Mandibuzz is the glue to this team. It's going to be switching in, you turning out. I mean, in DoD. In DoD, this is a. It's going to sound hypocritical because I just um, credited the last team of being like poor hazard game, and this really only has like DoD, Rebombi 2 in a way, sure,
Mm-hmm.
but DoD is a little bit different than um, uh, Iron Treads in that it can definitely take a hit or two, get up its spikes, teleport out, and with the good matchup, then you start getting immediate value much easier than you will with Treads. I mean, you can't keep hazards away like you could with Treads, so it's a little less on the like hyper offense opening, but you definitely I don't know. I think with the teleport just have a little more value out of it for as a hazard setter.
Yeah, and I think it's I'd like Deoxys as the hazard setter. I don't like that you are limiting yourself to only two removers, and one of them isn't going to come a lot, or it
True.
doesn't have the potential to come a lot. So you're basically saying, all right, Mandibuzz is going to run 3 moves plus defog
Or you just boots.
because you.
Just run boots. Like
Well,
I
and
would
that's
run.
another thing about boots. One of your Pokemon can't even run boots. Like, so if they get spikes up,
I know
that
it's a bit
Zamazenta is not gonna
problematic.
love it.
And Bundle really doesn't like boots either, but ah, this is one of those
Bundle
teams
doesn't
where
want boots. Yeah.
yeah, this is a team where you almost want that a layer of hazards up helps a lot against this team. Not so much for the residual damage because this team's not going to switch around too much. It'll switch into like DoD and Mandibuzz and then or Ursaluna and then pop off, do what it needs to from there. But like when Bundle hits the field, it's flip turning or hydroing. But you want the hazards down because then you can at least know, is it boots or do I have to worry about potentially specs? Because that's when
Right.
it gets a
Yeah.
little spooky. Or
Yeah.
banded gouging fire attacks. Ah.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of the like minor weaknesses this team has are solved by the fact that not a lot is going to be able to deal with that top three.
Yeah, it
Like that
covers
that
itself
top three
pretty
is going to
well.
raid some hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this team probably as much as I like the first team. Around a 7.5. I think there's some flaws that can be taken advantage of. It may want to play a
Right.
little too
Yeah.
slow, but like it's still a strong team. So yeah, seven and a
Yeah.
half.
I think that's a good fair rating for this team.
All right, gonna move on to the next team. This is the Denton Zoroark, coached by Spirit Union, and we have Palafin. Which, let's make it hero. Do it on the fly because it's more important to look at it with its massive stats. There it is. So we have Palafin, Rillaboom, Sneasler, Entei, Terra, Mamoswine, Hatterene, Porygon Z, Drifblim as a Terra, Mega Ampharos, and Fortress. Wow. Okay. So
I love this team.
this is the first team with like Terra captains that like scare me. Um,
Right.
both of these are
Like
incredibly powerful Terra captains. Like you get a lot of value out of both of them being Terra because like Entei, you always got to be scared of like a banded extreme speed sweeper at the end of a game.
yeah. Yeah. This
Drifblim
team
can
is
unburden and do a lot of shenanigans. Um,
yeah, this team has everything from ridiculous defense and Fortress and Hatterene to the stupid breaking power of Sneasler and Palafin. Like,
I
and then of
think,
course you got the Rillaboom Sneasler combo.
yeah, I think this team's gonna benefit a lot from just like a really hard offensive style. Get some spikes up with 4E. Use Hatterene as the pivot, and then get in whatever offense works that week, and break things
Yeah,
down, and then clean up with Palafin or Sneasler. Like,
Mamoswine. Yeah.
yeah, this team's gonna want to play fast, and the 4E Hatterene combo, you keep hazards off between the two of them. Like you switch in with Hatterene. Oh, it's checked pack or whatever. And then you just go straight into Rillaboom or Sneasler, whatever gives you the good matchup. You'll have options, and oof, that's nasty. Um, like so, Drifblim's your defogger, Fory's your spinner. Fory's an okay spinner. It's there's enough ghosts that are like really powerful that don't mind switching into Fory, even though it has T-Wave. So I'm not. It's gonna be hard to get spins off. So like I don't think you necessarily want games to go long here, but I think that it's gonna start off pretty quick, pretty early, and oof, it's gonna
He
get
has
tough.
that immediate breaking power to make it not a
Yeah.
long game
So I think
between.
since
Go
this
ahead.
feels a little relevant here, the team is a little bit slow, so something's gonna have to probably be scarfed. I mean, maybe not because the Entei and Sneasler's
There
actually
are
a
good
really good
scarfers though.
Sneasler's actually a really good scarfer in general. Um,
Porygon Z is a good scarfer too with adaptability.
yeah. I like this team. Mega Ampharos probably isn't ever coming. Sorry to say. Like I can see everything else coming, but Mega Ampharos, it just doesn't fit the mold of the team, even though it breaks the mold. Get it?
Yeah, I think honestly that looks like I needed an electric and a dragon, so I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
yeah. I
plug
had the
this in.
points. The only type he's missing, and this is actually a pretty big type to be missing, is Dark type. I guess you can make up for it
Oh, that's a
because
good point.
Entei or Drifloon can just tear it into it, but I always appreciate at least having a normal, or sorry, I shouldn't say, like a decent Dark type, just so the first thing people look at your team. You don't just want to lose to stored power right off the bat. But yeah, this team has a lot of offense, a lot of setup too. Like, and the only thing Entei is missing is Sword Stance. It probably gets Howl, but that it just put a ban on it at that point. But yeah, I like this team. I guess it's only real special attackers like Porygon Z. Like, but like that's fine. Palafin can do special stuff. But yeah, I like this team. I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Boom Burst Palafin.
Maybe even a 9.
Yeah, I'd say 8.5. It's 8.5. Yeah, that's
8.5 to 9.
I'd say
that may be a little biased too, because I just really like the style of this team and how it would play. Because I like to play fast. I don't like to do 50 turn bulk fests, you know.
Well, and I think this team has a lot of surprising bulk when it needs to have it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Mega Ampharos, I know we were just kind of hating on it. Surprisingly bulky. Fortress, surprisingly bulky. Well, not surprisingly, bulky. You know, and then you throw some Willows on there from Entei and stuff like that, and you can really start.
You should never be willowing with Entei. Just Sacred Fire. It will burn. I guarantee it.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Forget that move exists. That move's
bust.
Strength Sap from Driftland.
Yeah. Okay. So coming up next, we have the Midwestern Moltres, coached by Pro Shuriken. Here we have Great Tusk, Zeraora, Latios, Terra Sylveon, just regular Empoleon, Serena, Terra Colossal, Heracross, Suian Quillfish, and Mega Pidgeot. So we got hazards galore here, and we got ways to remove them. So like we don't even need to talk about it. He's got the best spinner in the game, Colossal, and I guess Tusk can too. But so the hazards are on point. Terra Sylveon's really interesting to me. I think that adds a ton of value into its calm mindsets, and like you just Terra out of whatever poison or steel is coming to get you on the physical side, and you're set. You get a couple calm mind boosts, and you just hyper voice away to victory.
Yeah, I mean that would. This team's got a lot of.
And Latios,
like you said, hazard removal.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
And Latios is like the new star of the show now that it has flip turn. Like that's so exciting. I'm waiting for my chance to use it. Because like now that it has flip turn,
that's crazy.
I'm just never not gonna run specs on it. Like okay, I'm ready. Oh. I mean I was running a fair amount of baton pass before with the spec sets, but now flip turn's just objectively better in my opinion. But
yeah, I like that this team has good Scarfers. This team has good immediate breaking power, good defensive, like long games. This is actually an insanely good team. I love this team.
Everything about it's like really solid. I'm trying to, just for critique purpose, to find some big fault in it, and
not finding one.
Not immediately. Fairy spam can kind of break it down, but I guess Empoleon it's fine handling it. It's got Roost now, so it don't care. Yeah, this is tough. This team can play fast. It can also go the distance. Like Sylveon can wish to keep things super healthy. I think this team's actually really good. The more I look at it, the more it just feels really good too.
Yeah, because Latios Recover, Empoleon Roost, Serena Synthesis, like this team is okay with long games and it's okay with quick games. Like this team, and it has the pivoting to dictate how fast that game's gonna go as well.
I'm looking at
Yikes.
the like move list here. The only thing is maybe the speed control for this team is pretty poor. Like the only T-Wave users are Zero Aura and Latios, and neither of them are gonna ever run it. I'm surprised Hisuian Quillfish doesn't have it, but that's
Yeah,
and there's no
whatever.
webs either, so like yeah, that's
Just
probably the only real complaint. It's no speed control. Can make
yeah, I mean that's the
certain
only thing I can find. Everything else looks great.
yeah. I just put this at a solid 9. It's probably my favorite team so far.
Yeah, minimum 9 for sure. I
All
like
right,
this team a lot.
let's move on to the next. This is the Belgian Blastoise, coached by Axelraid. And we have, oh, Tapu Koko. It's our first Coco team. Or, well, our only Coco team. Other divs will have other Coco teams. But we have Tapu Koko, Mega Gallade, Garchomp, Glamora, Slowking, Iron Jugulis, Tinkaton, Farigiraf, Rotom Frost, and Pignite. With Iron Jugs being Terra, and Rotom and Pignite being Terra as well. So we can disregard Pignite. It's not coming. Well, if it comes at this point, it's just gonna be to spite me. So
Right. Now that you said that.
yeah, it's not coming. Um, so Coco Jug is a good combo. Didn't fall into the bait I've been with. Like a lot of people, like Coco, and then it's like, oh, Iron Moth is right there. I don't know if he had the opportunity for it or what, but he didn't go for it, and that's good. Iron Moth and Coco is not a good combo unless Iron Moth can Terra. Right? That is my honest to goodness opinion on it. Like it's good, but I don't think it's great.
Both special attackers, and they both lose to ground types.
Essentially, yeah. And if without like the Terra, you just die in one hit. And anywho, that's too much about Iron Moth. Mega Glade and Garchomp in rounds 2 and 3. It's a good sign that it's a 14-person league and some shenanigans must have gone on in the draft for you to get a round 3 Garchomp. Like Coco Chomp is such a good combination. They just cover each other very well and continually apply massive pressure onto the match. You've got hazards all over the place. Chomp and Glamora have you covered. Tinkaton's fine setting rocks. It's a nice support utility mon. Yeah, I think
Removals a little light.
This is a very good team. Got great speed tiers. I guess hazard removal is up to Glamora and Coco. Which is...
Oh yeah, Glamora gets Mortal Spin, right?
Yeah.
That helps remove. Yeah, that's...
So
that'll help.
That's decent. Because Iron Jugs wants to run Specs, so like, Specs Terra Flying, go for the Hurricane, just rip into him.
Right,
yeah, I think that I like this team. This is just like, so Shuriken's team.
I think this is a straight up nice team to look at.
Yeah, Shuriken's team is one of those where you're like, yeah, there's some nice pieces here, and then you're like, whoa, okay, I see the vision. This one's just like, all right, I picked all of like it got to me. I picked the best mon on the board next. Best mon on the board next.
Right. Yeah. And it just kind of all fell in together.
Yeah, like I guess the big fault is like your steel type and fairy type is a Tinkaton. I'm gonna let it pass. Fairies. It's fine.
At least he does have 2 fairies.
Does it? Oh, Coco. All right, yeah.
Tinkaton's not its only fairy, so.
Yeah, that's fine. No ghost type, so you can't spin block, but that's fine. No grass type, but I'm not I don't think you need a grass type. Um, yeah, this team's totally fine.
Not on this team, no.
Yeah, this team's fine. I
There's-
like it. I'm gonna give this like a. I like it a little less than the one before, just because it
I'd
again.
say 8.5.
Yeah, like 8.5. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. This is
Nice.
the
Fiery Path Flygons.
yeah, coached by FP Flagons. You know, the name suits the team name.
Want me to take this one?
Yeah, go for it.
You got Iron Valiant, Celesteela, Gliscor, Blacephalon, Horion, Crobat, Terra Zerkatree, Terra Kamala, Mega Sceptile. Right away. This team, I don't like the electric weakness. I mean, you
Yeah,
have a Gliscor, don't get me wrong, but
we're missing a couple things here, but so okay, we have
no Dark Fairy.
Circuitry. Terra Circuitry, if it had Terra Blast, I think would just be such an absolute menace that like it would be nigh untouchable. Like it would just destroy. But it doesn't, so it's stuck with its normal coverage of like it has, you know, obviously electric moves, Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam. I'm not sure what else it really has. It has a couple of things. It probably has a ton of physical moves because Game Freak. um,
Yeah, it'd probably be a defensive Terra more than an offensive one with it.
yeah,
Just kind of not what you want here with it.
you know, go for if they're gonna bring electrics and grounds to stop you, just go for the Terra Grass, knock them out. Because it can still Tail Glow. Right. Like I mean, after Tail Glows, what's switching into Terra Grass Energy Ball? Not much.
No, actually.
But so Iron Valiant with Celesteela Gliscor, that's our main core here. Uh, so yeah, the sheet's a little bit wrong here. I don't know why. It's probably Waka. Uh, obviously Gliscor can set all the hazards. It can't just set Stealth Rock. So it's kind of forced to bring hazards week to week, which really limits Gliscor's, you know, Swiss Army knife capabilities. Sometimes you just want to run like you want to get rocks up somewhere else and then run Sword Stance, Facade. You know.
Right. Yeah. You're very limited on what that Gliscor is going to be able to do.
It actually probably just wants to be a big defensive pivot every week. Like, because you don't really have any other pivots other than Vaporeon.
They don't like 3 Beast Boost mons either. I know
Celesteela
it's not like a big
could get
thing,
away with it. I think you can get away with it with Celesteela. Like, it's not the sweeper beast booster, you know.
Right. It's just for me as like, I guess this might be a playstyle thing. For me, having one of like 3 different mons with the same ability, like, it also makes phasing really handy against your team.
Sure.
To be able to shut that down.
Yeah. I think my biggest complaints for this team is just on the defensive side of like, yeah, the electric weakness looks pretty tough. We could be surprised though. Like the lightning rod Mega Sceptile.
Lo and behold, Mega Sceptile, sweet.
Yeah. You don't want to give it the boost, you know. It has 145 special attack. That's a lot, especially +1.
Yeah, and it'll keep teams honest for bringing electric. It's just that there's a lot of your defensive pieces that do not want to swap into an electric type, and on top of that, like anything with Bolt Beam, Gliscor just goes out the window.
Yeah.
Like 3 flying types just kind of hurts.
Yeah, the type distribution here is a bit strange. And then there's no dark type. And so like if you're up against Necrozma, I would feel almost forced into like Kamala being a dark type. Like Celesteal is gonna hold off a lot of the stored powered sweepers for a little bit, but not for a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
and so like some of these mons want to play really fast because what's your hazard? Crobat and Gliscor? Because Celesteela can't do it. Those are fine. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm really unsure of this team. I need to see it play out through a few games. The mons picked are like fine as is, but like looking at them as a whole, it's tough to see a lot of team cohesiveness here. Um, and I mean, if your predict game is super swell, like then you're golden. And Gliscor, Vaporeon are fine. They do cover each other's weaknesses. So um,
Yeah, I think for a lot of what you're looking at for like what each mon has, you're asking one mon to bring like four different things utility wise. Like your Vaporeon, your Gliscor are kind of stuck into that, and it makes that predictable. I think my problem with this team is a lot of the other teams we've looked at so far. When you looked at them, it was kind of like, oh, I can see the vision for that team. I'm not really seeing it with this one.
no, gonna rank this one 6 with a question mark. It's got some nice
Yeah.
pieces, but the question mark is because I just don't see how it's gonna play, and I'm willing to bet, or I'm willing to like watch a couple games and eat my words and go, oh, okay, I see the vision. But right now, I just don't. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to the halfway mark. And coming up next, we have the Stockholm Stonejourners, coached by a person. Not just a person, but also a person. Okay, so we have Urshifu Single Strike, Ursh Money as I call him, Goldango, Cinderace, Primarina, Sandy Shocks, Wuchain? I don't know. Monkey Dory, Mega Aerodactyl, and Dashbun. And your Terras are Wochain and Dashbun. Uh, I
I love
like the
those
Urshifu
Terras.
single and Goldango. It's a pretty cool pairing. Um, I've run a lot of Urshifu. It's probably my most successful mon, right behind Coco or right in front of Coco at this point. Um, Mainly because Gen 9, my Coco stats have taken a dive because it's just setting up terrain for everything. But like Urshifu really appreciates, because everything when you have the Urshifu team, I'm gonna stop you all right there. Everything tears into a fairy. Wow, what a surprise! Who could have guessed? Who could have foreseen such a thing? So when that happens, Make It Rain is a really nice move. Um,
Right.
so like in WPF right now, I have Urshifu, Goldango, Iron Moth, and they all play really nicely off of each other. Um, Anywho, neither here nor there. The top two are a really nice pairing. Um, Cinderace is just generally a really good mon. It hits hard. It's got Court Change, which is just a really cool ability. Um, to it's its own special kind of hazard control. Or if you time it up right, then you don't have any more hazards. Like it's its own hazard. Like so you don't have any defoggers or spinners, but you do have Cinerate, so you at least even out the hazards. There's a good chance they'll be able to get them back up, but that's okay. You can set
This team
hazard.
has enough momentum, and it hazards are going to be a hard thing to set up against this kind of team,
Right, I think
unless you
hazards
do it
can
on
be
the
set up.
Lucian.
Yeah, the Taro chain though is pretty scary. We've seen it last season or 2 seasons ago. I think 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
When because last season was all like the high tier Terramons. So 2 seasons ago, it would just Terra into like fire or something and just be an absolute menace. You can't kill it. So it's like it's super nasty. So I like the Mons. I think you are a little dependent on Mega Aerodactyl to come every week to just keep speed tiers honest, but it's okay. Like Urshifu can get away with being scarfed every week. It's a little weak on the
He does have
hazards.
really good scarfers though.
Yeah, he's got good
Between
scarfers.
Shifu, Shocks, Dango,
Um,
like
yeah, so the team's pretty cool. It's got a lot going for it, but like I just feel like it falls a little bit short. So like Mega, like it's gonna get rocks up against you, and you either gotta get rid of him or Mega Aerodactyl's really limited in what it can do. Um, Sandy Shocks is like your only big, like off the rip attacker. Goldengo and Primarina can do it, but then that limits their ability to switch in, and they're actually pretty good pivot mons. Um, so I think this is going to be a hard to execute team, unless I'm wrong and Mo Change just comes in and like eats everything. I'd probably put this team at about a 7.25. Like there's
yeah.
good pieces here, but it's like almost missing that one thing to really make it excel. So yeah, that's kind of where I fall on this. Like it isn't missing anything, but it doesn't just like explode off the page to me.
I kind of wish you or they had been able to combine Munkadori and Mega Aerodactyl into that Crobat in the previous team.
Then
I
get
feel like
something
that would
else.
fit.
Could be, yeah.
Get get something. It like get another good mid tier in there. I think that would fit this team really well. So I wonder if that was ever on the draft board and got sniped from him. Yeah, because Crobat when the Wo-Chen did.
Yeah, when you say it out loud, this team needs like one more slow pivot. And, Dashbun's not a slow pivot. It's, so, that's what this team needs. This team's also missing a normal type. I mean, a few other types, but normal's the big one. So it just means when they play Spectrier, take a guess what Wo-Chain's gonna tear it into.
Ori 2 would have been good on this team as well, I
Oh
think.
yeah, Pori 2 would be really nice. I like that a lot for this team. Okay. Coming
Okay.
up next, we have the Minnesota Eon Twins. This is coached by Alchemist, just Alchemist. I just like saying it, Chemi. Why don't you go ahead and take this one?
So you got a Mew, Kyurem Black, Melmetal, Togekiss, Meowscarada, Ceruledge, Virizion, Alamo, Alamomola, Articuno, and Bastiodon, with Virizion and Articuno as your Terras. I really like this team. This is the team when I looked over it right away that I went, yep, this would probably be my highest team. I love the hazards. I like the removals, even though you don't have a spinner or Weber. I mean, Mew is the utility of all utility, which is great for your Kyurem Black and Melmetal, and Meowscarada loves to help those out. Other than that, like, I do love. I drafted Kieran Black personally. I love that both Minnesota teams drafted Kieran Black. Let's go. Um,
See,
that thing's a
it's the only
menace,
city cold
and
enough to house it.
right, and I think he draft even though Melmetal isn't like a utility steel type. I think he drafted the right other utility mons to really make that Kieran Black shine.
What do you mean? It has
Like
T-Wave
that,
and Toxic. That is the sure sign that you are a utility mon. You get both.
right? Yeah, because he kind of did the opposite of what I did. I did like full offense with like bulky-ish Mons, Kieran Black, Zamazenta. I like the Mew Togekiss Meowscaradic trio there, where it's just like, all right, we're gonna bring all the util for this Kieran Black.
Yeah,
We're
and
gonna just we're
this
gonna
team
set up
has no
hazards.
problem
We're gonna
keeping
remove it.
hazards away for Kieran Black, meaning you can run the bands, the choice scarves, the loaded dice, whatever you feel is best. So if you can enable, and that's kind of why we ended up tiering it at 16, is that like it's really not trivial with how fast the game plays, um, to keep everything clear to let Kieran Black shine. But when you can, it's gonna go to town. Um, Articuno is I don't want to say it's underrated. I think people are well aware of how good it is in like the low tier Terra stuff. Like it is a great Terra captain. The only thing holding it back really is its typing. Like its stats are phenomenal for a special wall. It's basically Zapdos but on
Right.
the special side for defense, but better. So I think Zapdos is actually not all that.
I think that Zapdos has a better ability. I think is part
Oh
of
yeah,
it
it's
as
way
well.
better. But you know, it's really nice. A little better than Virizion, I feel. But like,
And
you've got some nice pivot options here between Articuno and Alomola. Alomomola. I'll never say it right. Um, and that's a good
it
chance
sounds
to
a lot.
like it getting flip turn has just raised its stock so high for me.
Flip turn Rocky Helmet. I mean, what else do you need on that thing?
You could
Swap it into every physical move and
or
flip turn on
throw an
out.
assault vest on it and with mirror coat.
And that, yeah. Like this mon, I think that mon is insanely good.
But like
A
that's
lot
just
of
such a safe way to get Kieran Black in. Lola Mola comes in, flip turns out. Oh, here's Kyram. Oh no. Um, yeah, this team's super swell. I I
it
love it.
does have a lot of doubled up typings and a lot of not, or you don't have some typings I would look for. You don't have a normal type, you don't have a poison type, you don't have a ground type,
Oh yeah, no poison type's pretty big.
but you're doubled up on grass, ice, flying,
No
and
ground type
steel.
either, or
Yeah, like you're
electric.
missing some crew. I would like, I know Terra Articuno is nice. I would like to see that in Bastiodon combined into a half decent ground type.
Yeah.
Um and my thing with the Bastiodon, I know it's like a 2 point mon. I don't like picking a double steel there that you have Melmetal, Kieran Black. I know you got Togekiss and Mew to swap into steel types and Sorrel Edge, but I don't think picking another
Yeah, so
thing that's that weak to fighting
I'd
is nice,
honestly even
especially with
just
the
get rid of the
poison.
Virizion for something that shores up some of the more crucial typings
Yeah,
a bit better. Um,
that's a good point. Virizion isn't
Having said all
completely.
that,
I
like
wouldn't even say
I
remotely necessary.
I love the team. I think objectively, like its typings make it real hard. You can very easily fall into like the Volt turn nonsense. You can fall into the vortex here and be in some real trouble, especially with no grounded poisons hard. It's not impossible. Just I set T spikes, and are you gonna spend all game really trying to T spikes? Like with as fast as the game is, spending a turn defogging is can be a game lost off of that, or at least you train them up, and so you put them in a situation where okay, you can defog, get rid of the T spikes, but it's going to cost you 60% of the health on your Mew. You want to do that. Um, so yeah, I think that's going to be tough. So I can't, even though I really like the team, mainly because Kyron Black and Melmetal is such a cool combo. I Yeah, I just can't. I'm gonna put it at like a solid 7.5.
Yeah, it's tough because I wonder how that team would look with Novarese and add Toad's Gruel or something like that. Um,
a little
as
bit
the
better, I think.
substitute for it.
Yeah. Um,
Just all ground type, I think would be nice. I know
like
it's not the perfect
like
ground type here,
trade
but
out Virizion for Toad's Cruel and
or
Bastidion for
Mudsdale,
like regular Muck, or sorry, Arbok. See, I don't know where
or
if
like a
that even works
Mudsdale even.
point
Yeah,
wise, but like that would go pretty far. Okay,
I don't know.
let's.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at a 7.5. So moving on, we have
Little Root
the Little
Nightmares.
Root Nightmares by Name. They have a Landorus, Roaring Moon, Heatran, Megalopony, Amoonguss, Blastoise, Comfey, which is Terra, Galvantula, Rotom, which is Terra, and Cofagrigus, which is Terra. Um, as I looked at the tiers after the drafts had started, of course, so it was too late to change them. I was wondering if it was a mistake to let Comfy Terra. I'm not sure we should have let it keep it. And I think it was actually relatively cheap. It's like only like 11 or 12 points or something. It's not like it's a 15 there. Like I have it in front of me. Let me double check.
Yeah,
Um,
with Terra, it's
9.
9.
That was probably
Oh
a
boy.
mistake.
What
Um,
did we do? What did we do?
nobody caught it. Well, maybe some coaches probably caught it and just, sometimes
Why do you think it was
just
drafted?
yeah, sometimes you're just not gonna say anything because it's already if the matchup is good, like this thing can like sweep Uber teams if the matchup's good. Triage is just a broken ability. Um,
Yeah.
like I'm all bulk and I got a couple Calm Mind boosts up, and you hit me and I've got a Key Berry, so cool. I'm boosted. Let's go. So looking past the Comfy for a minute, I will say this team. Let's see, what are our hazard setters? Heatran and Cofagrigus. Okay.
Yep.
Lando can do it. I'm actually fine with like Lando I setting rocks. If you're gonna make us like if you're gonna force a switch anyway, yeah, at least get the rocks up, like, and then you can go from there. See, okay, so this is a bad example, but okay, this Chansey, what they're switching into my Lando. Good to know for next time. I can make appropriate, but I got my rocks up. Um, but
Yeah, I wish the hazards were a little better with how many pivots they have. Because you're perfectly fine making this a long game and pivoting around and doing a little bit of chip damage here. So maybe that's where your chip damage is going to come from, is the vast amount of pivots you do have.
yeah,
But, like a
yeah,
layer or two of spikes would really go a long way with this
yeah.
team.
I think so. I think this team's gonna be missing spikes more than else. Um, spikes are just so much better than rocks these days because all the rock weak mons are all running boots anyway. So rocks lose a bit of their value. But you've got Blastoise, which is a good spinner. Um, Heatran Amoonguss is a goaded core, just because, like, oh, you earthquaked, did 40 to Amoonguss, who cares? He didn't, he spored you. It's just, they
Yeah.
take care of each other like that. I really like Megalopony. This is a national dex league, so it can return. It can frustration, and it's a,
Fake out into last resort.
yes, the actual good set. Um, yeah, so it's good. Like Roaring Moon, a bit questionable, but I just don't think it's very good in draft yet. Like some leagues
It
have it even as
eats
low
better
as
with
like,
the Sun team.
yeah, some leagues even have it as low as like 15 now. It's crazy. It's just hard for it to pop off. Like,
Actually, low key, imagine this team didn't have the Rotom and it had a Torkoal there.
um,
I
I
know it's
thought we
not like our
have a
Sun
Sun
team.
team. I don't know.
Do
I don't
we?
think Torkoal's all that good in general. I think it's a huge liability because if you know it's coming, I
But
I
like
just don't think
this
it's that
team would
good.
love to just have it.
Yeah, I could see it. You
I
already
think,
have the ghost and the electric. Why not?
yeah, like that mon's just doubling up your types there. A Torkoal there gives you another remover, gives you another rocker, and allows Heatran and Roaring Moon like all the freedom they need.
Yeah, actually, I dig it. Like, if it's the same cost, which they're about the same, I think. I mean, it won't be a Terra. It goes pretty high when it's a Terramon. Um, but
Right, yeah.
yeah, good. At least it does something which the Rotom's not gonna be able to do. It forces more prep. At a minimum, you have to also make into account like some sun modes, and the sun's pretty nice for. Oh no, you already said here. Yeah, so the sun will cover it. Blastoise is happy to run Toxic, Spin every week. Scald. It's not gonna mind too much missing out on like the extra power. Uh, Probably has Weather Ball, I'm sure. Let's check real quick. Yeah, it has Weather Ball. Actually, so does Landorus. But I don't know how that works with Landorus. Because of sheer force, not that important. Um, but yeah, so Blastoise, that'd be really funny. Weather Ball Blastoise takes out like a Tangrowth or something. Um,
Yeah.
Anywho, I'm gonna give this team a solid like 7.25. Not quite as good as the last team. It has
Yeah.
some cool pieces. The Terraconfa may just actually disregard my opinion and elevate this team up to like a 9. But yeah, I'm kind of with you, and I think you've like totally butchered my opinion. Now that I'm just looking at that road, I'm like, yeah, that could be a Torkoal, and I don't see it. Like I'm looking at the last couple drafts here on the other screen, and I'm not seeing
So I'm
Torkoal.
looking at the Torkoal 7. He has 1 point left. He would have to drop the Terra on Kafagrigus, I think,
That's fine. I'd
to
do
be
it.
able to make it work.
I'd do it.
Yeah,
You're never not
because
gonna Terraconfa, so like,
yeah, I think with your current team, the you're not gonna Terra Kafa. The Rotom, yeah, it's fun. It's a fun mon. There's some cool sets, especially with Terra. But if you bring a Torkoal there and you really boost that Heatran Roaring Moon, like you said, that Weather Ball Blastoise, this team becomes a whole lot scarier. Just on paper, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree.
Because it gives it the sun aspect without making it anywhere close to reliant on the sun. Because you don't need the sun at all with this team to function properly. It just gives it that extra threat. It's like, oh crap, if I don't prep for the sun,
Yeah,
you know, they're gonna destroy. It's gonna come in. Roaring Moon or Heatran's gonna destroy me.
right. Um, okay, moving on. This next team's gonna be pretty quick. This is Frog Force by Froggy104. Uh, this is I'll give you my ranking right off the bat. This is a 10 out of 10 team.
Respect to sticking to the vision and the meme. Like 100%, it's a 10 just
Yeah,
for that.
like if you want my honest take on the team, like what do you do? How do you handle this team? Like I guess you bring a snake. Snakes eat frogs, but I
Birds,
had a
birds is about it.
yeah, you bring birds, and it is pretty weak to flying, funnily enough. Um, and I guess it's weak to psychic too, but that's just because there's only one dark type. I mean this team is gonna squeak out a few wins. I just know it, and it's gonna be really funny when it does. Um, yeah,
Yeah, this is, and like I know we're not really critiquing this team, but like having I don't like that 5 mons. Like you're limiting yourself because of species clause. Like, I wish there were more frogs so we didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
You Poliwhirl, and then Poliwrath, and Politoed, and then Palpitoad and Seismitoad. Like, I know it's for the meme, but that kind of
Yeah.
stings.
Yeah. No, I dig it,
This
and
was still really fun.
I
Yeah.
love you, Froggy, for sticking with the meme. Beautiful. 10 out of 10. And anyone who disagrees is objectively wrong. Okay, so next up we have the Russian Rapidashes, coached by Martin. We have here a Darkrai, Mega Scizor, Lando T, Rapid, Screamtail, Terra Arboliva, um, Dragalge, Caragonal, Carkle, and Thunderous Therian, the slow one. I think the Terra captains are really cool here. I really like Carkle aside.
Mhm.
Um, Terra Arboliva is a force to be reckoned with, as is Terra Caragnal.
Yeah.
Like I, it seems
It,
crazy, but I think between just Terra Ice for really strong freeze dries, or um, actually that may be it. I think it's like that and Flash Cannon. That's only real, but still.
Garbage
Um,
remove. Yeah.
top
Kind of
five.
sucks because Terra Steel's similar weaknesses to Terra Ice, but it's still it's gonna hit like a
Arbolive
freight
is gonna
train.
be the one to Terra week to week, and it'll just whatever is probably the best defensive typing. Um, this is a
Right.
case where okay, so top four are coming every week, and you're gonna like swap in and out between the Screamtail, Dragalge, Thundy, and Arboliva. Maybe the Cryogonal. Um, probably not Carkle. Sorry, buddy. It's not your time. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's fairly accurate. I really like this team now. It's got all the. I mean, this team has a absurd amount in my mind of utility. Like what? Who's gonna be the rocker? Who's gonna bring the defog? Who's gonna be the spinner? Like it
uh,
has
well, it's probably gonna be Lando setting rocks most week. Maybe Screamtail. Screamtail doesn't set
most weeks.
rocks
Yeah.
all that much. It wants to do other things on the utility side, like the wishing and the encoring and stuff. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Like to me, this team just kind of screams out that I'm like my end games are always going to be Mega Scizor or Rapid style end games. Either I'm gonna SD up with Mega Scizor, or we're gonna get the Choice Scarf Shifu. Um, and just
Right.
yeah, this team has some crazy breaking power. Like you can specs up the Darkrai, do some big damage. Um, Arboliva has 125 special attack, and that's just crazy to me. But Dragalge hits
Throw it
pretty
on away.
hard with adaptability, and then I keep forgetting about it because it's there on the back. But like Thundurus smashes things. That's all it
Right. Yeah.
does. Um,
Choice specs that thing, and it will take some heads off.
yeah, I like this team. Got great scarf options. Um, great,
Amazing
man.
pivots.
Yeah, great pivots. Like you've got Thundy, Theron, and Mega Scizor, like Gen 6, early Gen 6 all over again. So, I give this like a 8.5. This is a really strong team.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's hard to find any real faults with it other than like it's a little weak on the hazard game. Um, I
Eight and
guess,
a half. Yeah.
no ghosts, like that's fine. Um,
Oh. Yeah. I mean, you have a Darkrai.
yeah,
I'd say eight, 8.5, somewhere in there
yeah.
is where this
Like
team
I think
fits.
it's really strong. Um,
Yeah.
okay, we're
Yeah.
getting up to our final couple teams. We have Royal Regieleki, coached by Hamish 250. You want to take this one?
Yeah. I got you. You have a Tornadus Therian, Chi-Yu, Slowking Galar, Iron Hands, Mega Diancie, Kyurem, Donphan, Pyukumuku, and a Kling Clang. Terra, Pyukumuku, and Kling Clang.
Terra Larry.
Larry is here.
Yeah. Okay. So the first big complaint I had for this was like, was there nothing better on the board for like Terra captains? Like these are both like 3-point Terra mons.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that top 6, that's a lot of points in the top 6.
Yeah, it
Like,
is. Kling Clang though too, I will say, is probably one of the nicer low tier steals. Like it's got between its whatever its move is that like hits twice, gear grind, whatever that is.
here,
Um, gear grind and wild charge. That's kind of all you need.
right? Yeah, it's.
Does it have
I
Terra
mean, the
Blast? Is it
Terra.
in the game? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I can
I think it's
look
left
here
in
while you
border
talk
control.
here. It does not get Terra Blast, so no.
Nah, that's all right.
Um,
But yeah, so like,
yeah, I
go
think
ahead.
that top 6 is really good. I mean, the Terras leave a lot to be desired. I don't like the ground weakness. Like, yeah, you have a Torn to deal with it, but there's a
That's
lot here that's weak to ground, and you don't have good Terras to help
I,
you fix that problem.
yeah, I don't think you have any defensive synergy here really. Like, Torn T and Larry are
Any
gonna
ground
be,
type,
yeah, Torn T and Larry are gonna be your saving grace of coming in and out. You don't have a normal type either, and this is not where your Terras can fix it, because like playing against Spec, Pyukumuku doesn't do anything to it. Like it just subs up and cool. It'll you're probably playing a really long game there. Kling Clang I guess a little bit, but then you're forced to bring Kling Clang. Um,
yeah, and that
decent
means you're leaving a
spinner, good
lot of points on the
defogger.
board.
Kyurem and Chi both want to keep hazards out of the way. I think it's like this is the case where you were just picking the best mon off the board each time, and then they don't really sink in well together. Cause like
Yeah, you remember that team earlier we said that where it was kind of picking the team or best mon off the board, and that one ended up working well together. This is picking the best team off the or mon off the board, and it didn't end up working well
yeah
because you just end up in a situation where any ground type with decent attack and stone edge just kind of ruins you.
yeah, and like just it's totally the case where you know you used up all your points 7 months in, and you're like, how do I shore this together? Uh-oh. So I think
Yeah,
you know, play it out for a few weeks. There's no reason like in week 1 to go to the draft board to like blow it up. Like play it out a little bit because this team can play fast, can hit hard, um, and there may be like a niche for it to kind of fill in. But I'm not seeing it. Like yeah, the ground
yeah,
weakness is like Garchomp runs over this team. Like you know what I mean? Like all right.
right.
So I mean, it needs a
Gar-
little help, like before people start rah rah rah. Well, you can't ever beat Puikamuku and this and this. Shut up. You all know what I mean. Speed
yeah,
tiers are fine, but like I don't like this. I'm gonna give this another 6 out of 10. I think
yeah.
I think it's
I
really
think this is
close.
on the lower end.
Yeah, I think
It
it's really
has a lot
close.
of good offensive threats to make it a little scarier, but like if you just look at this is one of those if you took away the name of the Pokemon and you just looked at the stats, moves, and like the uh, utility moves on the side, if you just looked at that, you would probably not put it very high. Like you gotta take away the fact that that's a Chi-Yu and a Glow King and a Torn T and a Mega Diancie and a Kyurem. Like
Yeah,
together, that's not working well together.
yeah. I like there's some things like if it were me and I were like to blow this up in somehow some way, not you only get like 5 transactions, so you can't do all that much. Like the Slow King and the Kyurem go really well together. The Torn and the Glow King go really well together. Um, Chiyu and Iron Hands go really well together. So it's like you have a lot of potential combo pieces here, but it just is really expensive to keep all of them. Um, I'm not sure what you'd want to keep, but just play it out a few weeks, see where you land. Okay, last and certainly not least, we have the Seattle Sigilifts coached by Dashing Sceptile. And here we have Mega Metacham, Spectrier, Excadrill, Tyranitar, Raikou, Enamorous Therian, Tentacruel, Tangela, Cyclizar, and Magmortar Terra. It's another team with like 2 great Terra captains.
I love these heroes.
Yeah. Um,
I think they work really well here, especially with this team. This team needs the offensive threat from it, and they both fit that perfectly.
yeah.
I
Um,
do.
I like the. All right, so the first two, like the 1-2 combos, nice. Spectre and Mega Metacham go really well together. Especially now that Mega Metacham has like Trailblaze, it just can even facilitate more of its own sweeps. With close combat, like no more high jump kicks.
Right.
It's kind of silly to me to see like random sand mode going with it, but it's probably fine too. Um,
I actually like it here because Mega Metachim Spectre, their biggest combination is a ghost type, kind of ruins them. Well, Tyranitar is a pretty darn beefy dark type and is okay eating those moves, and then set up a sand stream for Excadrill, and then boom,
I guess it's all
things
fine.
have gone to hell.
Yeah, you've got Terra Raikou, which is really good. Um, this Cyclizar cannot shed shell, so also why it was picked in round 9. Shed tail, not shed shell. Different ability. Different ability. Um, it's pretty weak on the hazard side though. You just realistically only have rocks from T-Tar. I don't think Excadrill is gonna have too many turns that it can actually rock, or at least the turns that it would actually rock. Like what's coming in. Oh, it's Corviknight. Cool. See your rocks later. Um, decent spinners, like actually 3 really good spinners. Um, but like without the rocks, you're gonna need to play around a little bit just to get the chips because you don't have very many pivoters here. You have Tentacruel, Cyclizar, Raikou. Everything needs to hard switch in. I think that's gonna make it tough. Like Spectre and Mega Metacham really appreciate a lot of pivots to get them in, so they can actually fire off their attacks. So this team's gonna be pretty dependent on making a lot of like clutch doubles, which I think isn't going to be super hard to do. But like with once you get the Mega Metacham in, then the double becomes really easy. Like Mega Metacham's in, they want to switch their Mew in. Aha, Spectre time, go. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think 100% this team loves correct doubles, but that also leaves you open to incorrect doubles, and you can get yourself in a really bad situation really quickly.
right, especially like if the double is your only way to get Spectre in safely without getting KO'd or something, then you may start losing out to some just mid-ground plays where it covers that too, and go, uh-oh, you just lost 50% of your health and the sand's up. So I that's where I kind of worry. I'd put this team because of like those reasons that it's just you've got great pieces, but it's really hard to get them in. I'd
Right.
probably put it at like 7 3/4.
Yeah, someone at 7.5 to 8 points has got enough offensive threats and defensive threats to make it look like is going to be a problem to prep each week. It's got enough wacky sets that you can surprise opponents, but you're
Right.
gonna have a hard. If people prep properly, especially for the meta gym and the Spectre, you're gonna have a really hard time getting them in.
Yeah. So, all right, that's our last team. That's gonna do it. I think we have got a great season ahead of us. I'm really excited to see how a lot of these matches go and how some of these teams end up shaking out. Because even though we've given the objective truth on every team, they may not listen and do their own thing with them.
Right. Yeah. And matches have already started. We've had some great matches so far. Love to see those going off.
Yeah, that's true. But
Keep
we're
it
not
up.
gonna eat up.
Schedule your kids.
Yeah, schedule early and often. Um, we're not gonna eat up any more of your time. So if you're still listening with us, thanks for making it to the end. Once again, I've been Dr. Geo. I'm with me,
I'm Nick Fenrir.
and we'll see you
So.
next time. Peace.